My guest today is in his 20s. He's 26 years old, and he's currently looking after 1,500 destitute people in the Earth Saviours Foundation. What that means is that he's looking after senior citizens who've been abandoned by their families. He's looking after people who have mental and physical disabilities who've been abandoned by their families, women who are victims of trauma and domestic abuse, people who no one will look after. And at this very young age, he talks to me about finding the empathy, the drive, and the strength to keep it going, to keep his father's legacy alive. Jas Kalra is my guest today. We tell his story now. Jas, thank you so much for speaking with me. I understand you have 1,500 abandoned or destitute people currently in your homes being looked after you. Is the problem of the abandonment of senior citizens very stark in our country, in your experience? What have you experienced?
It's not only stark, but it's growing. The problem of abandonment is something that the consequences of it will be very widespread, because somewhere or the other, the fact that we see it as an option is something that taints our understanding of humanity altogether. We've always heard and seen and grown up to understand that families are supposed to be one. And yet, when mothers and fathers are willing to leave their mentally disabled children on the roadsides because they don't want to care for them anymore, or when I've personally seen children that come to our gates in the middle of the night and leave their own parents there. I've seen husbands leave their wives after they've suffered from an incurable disease or paralysis. They leave them at the railway tracks or railway stations. They promise to come back, but they never do. So the fact of the matter is, if this kind of behavior is even an option, then we're not going in the right direction. A good tomorrow isn't promised.
When someone is abandoned at your gates, and you take that person in, obviously you have to, आपको पुलिस में information देना पड़ेगा कि ऐसे ऐसे हुआ है. You bring the person in. मैंने आपके literature में देखा है कि आप उनकी चिकित्सा करते हो, उनकी क्लीन अप करते हो, उनको rehabilitate करते हो. Do families ever come and pick them up again?
बहुत कम.
Have you reached out to a family and said, listen, your father is here with me?
जी.
क्या response आते हैं उनकी?
तो कहते हैं आप रख लो, कहते हैं हमें नहीं रखना. और ये तो बात जायज़ मतलब पता ही होती है, जब वो छोड़ के गए हैं तो उन्हें नहीं रखना. मतलब उन्हें ट्रैक डाउन करना हमारा पॉइंट नहीं है. ये वो तो फिर लोग सड़क पे भी रह रहे हैं, उनकी भी तो फैमिलीज़ हैं. अगर हम चाहें तो हम में से कोई भी जाके उनसे भी पूछ सकता है कि आपकी फैमिली का है, ट्रैक डाउन हो जाएगी. बट हम वो नहीं करते. वो तो क्योंकि हम इंस्टीट्यूशन है तो हम पे ओनस आ जाता है कि ट्रैक डाउन करना चाहिए.
हाँ.
लेकिन जो लोग हमारे पास लाए जाते हैं वो तो वैसे ही बहुत बुरी हालत में होते हैं. आधे से आधे के हाथ पैर कटे होते हैं, सर फटे होते हैं, उनके शरीर पे भी बड़े बड़े घाव होते हैं, उसमें कीड़े लगे होते हैं. 80% लोग मेंटली डिसेबल्ड होते हैं. वो कोने में बैठे रहते हैं, खुद से बातें करते रहते हैं हमारे शेल्टर होम में, और अपना नाम भी नहीं बता पाते. कितने ऐसे होते हैं जो रेप विक्टिम्स होते हैं, डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस की विक्टिम्स होती हैं, एसिड अटैक की विक्टिम्स होती हैं. तो हमारी प्रायोरिटी जो कल्प्रेट है उसे ढूंढ के उसे पनिश करना नहीं है. हमारी प्रायोरिटी है उनकी सेवा करना. हमारे यहाँ वैसे तो लोग रात रात को भी आते हैं और बहुत बड़ी बड़ी गाड़ियों में आते हैं और अपने पेरेंट्स को छोड़ जाते हैं हमारे गेट पे. BMW, मर्सिडीज़ में आते हैं, पोर्श में आते हैं. तो सुबह जब मैं उनके पेरेंट्स को अंदर लेकर आता हूँ और उनके डाइपर्स देखते हैं, तो डाइपर्स चेंज नहीं होते बहुत बहुत महीनों से. वो चेंज करते हैं, उनके कीड़े निकालते हैं, उनके मल मूत्र साफ़ करते हैं, उन्हें दवाइयाँ देते हैं, कुछ खाने को देते हैं, नहलाते हैं. तब ऑप्शन तो मेरे पास भी होती है कि मैं कैमरास चेक करके जो गाड़ियाँ थी उनकी नंबर प्लेट निकाल के ट्रैक डाउन करूँ. लेकिन वो हमारा काम नहीं है. अगर हम जैसे कहते हैं ना कि अगर चोर को चोरी करते हुए पकड़ोगे तो वो चोरी नहीं छोड़ता, बस वो छुप के चोरी करता है। तो फिर वो हमारे गेट पे लाएंगे नहीं, सड़क पे छोड़ देंगे, फिर वहाँ कौन ट्रैक करेगा? तो मेरे पास तो जब लोग बीच दिन में भी लेकर आते हैं अपने पेरेंट्स को और कहते हैं कि ये बैक सीट में गाड़ी के मेरा बाप बैठा है, इसको रख ले, तो मैं हाथ जोड़ के कह देता हूँ ठीक है मैं रख लूँगा, क्योंकि हम समझ जाते हैं कि अगर हम मना करेंगे तो ये सड़क पे छोड़ देंगे अपने पेरेंट्स को।
सो ये एजुकेशन की बात नहीं है, सोसाइटी की बात नहीं है, एक टाइप की फैमिली की बात नहीं, गरीबी की बात नहीं है।
ह्यूमैनिटी ऑप्शनल है आज के टाइम में, और कहीं ना कहीं जैसे कि हम पहले बात कर रहे थे, लोग सोचते हैं कि कोई ना कोई तो कर ही रहा होगा तो हमें क्या करने की ज़रूरत है। मतलब जैसे मीडिया में दिखाया जाता है कि कुछ जने हैं जो इतना अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं, तो बाकी जनता उन्हीं के भरोसे सब कुछ छोड़ देती है। मुझे तो कहीं ना कहीं इस बात से भी बहुत हैरानी भी होती है और बहुत परेशानी भी होती है कि लोग कहते हैं कि सेवा का मौका बहुत गिने चुने लोगों को मिलता है। मुझे तो लगता है कि वो ये बात बोल के उन लोगों से वो काम करवा रहे हैं जो वो खुद नहीं करना चाहते।
हाँ।
कि बोल दिया कि हाँ ये मौका सबको नहीं मिलता, करो 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 ताकि हमें ना करना पड़े। तो अगर सब कर लेंगे मिलजुल के तो सेवा की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, लेकिन अगर नहीं कर रहे तो समाज गलत दिशा में ही जाता रहेगा।
आपकी अर्थ सेवियर्स फाउंडेशन में अगर
जी
कोई अभी 1500 लोग हैं जिनकी आप सेवा करते हैं,
जी
और आपने कहा थोड़े मेंटली डिजेबल्ड होते हैं, थोड़ी फिजिकली डिजेबल्ड होते हैं, थोड़ी ट्रॉमा से गुजरे हुए होते हैं,
जी
बुजुर्ग लोग होते हैं, तो आप किस टाइप के स्टाफ एम्प्लॉय करती हो इन सारे चीज़ों की देखभाल करने के लिए? व्हाट टाइप ऑफ पीपल, व्हाट इज़ योर स्टाफ मेड अप ऑफ, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ प्रोफेशनल्स?
We don't have a team that was employed on the basis of their capabilities, but more on the basis of their willingness. Not everyone would be willing to sign up for work like this. In fact, most of the team members that I have work on a very bare minimum salary, and yet they show up every day. So, and I'd like to believe that it's because they know that they're contributing to the greater good of society and they're not just working for a paycheck. And that in turn also inspires me. I don't look for inspiration outside, I look for inspiration within my team, within the premises. And I find it more often than not. You know, our team mostly consists of female volunteers. We have about 150 female volunteers, and they show up every day. If I may be frank, they love wearing very pretty suits, and they come to work with a big smile on their faces. But in the next moment, they don't shy away from the fact that now they have to change diapers, or they have to bathe people that aren't their family members, or they have to get their hands dirty because they have to feed someone that can't even swallow the food that they're eating. So, somewhere or the other, that mindset that they have, or they've been blessed with, or I'm very certain that a higher power has given them that mindset. If that's willingness, then I think that's what we employ on the basis of, rather than capability or achievements on a CV.
What sort of help do you need right now?
I think this would be my cue to talk about how difficult it is for us to raise funds because we don't receive any from the government or any foreign entity, or nor do we receive any grants or schemes. We don't have any political or religious tie-ups to help us out when we're desperately in need. But we depend on the kind-hearted people in our society that see service as their own responsibility, and they join hands to ensure that it keeps continuing. So yes, we are always in a dire need of funds, especially since we have to keep expanding to accommodate the new admissions. It's not even a choice. It's not out of passion that we're expanding. We have to. Otherwise,
Because when someone comes to you, they come to stay with you permanently. There's not a, there's no discharge.
correct. But the truth behind that is also, जब लोग हमारे पास लाए जाते हैं तो वो ज़्यादा दिन तो सर्वाइव भी नहीं कर पाते. वो लाए इस हालत में जाते हैं. आधे से ज़्यादा तो वैसे ही अपने डेथ बेड पे होते हैं. तभी तो लोग डिसाइड करते हैं कि हमें और इनकी सेवा नहीं करनी. 2 हफ्ते कर ली, 4 हफ्ते कर ली, अब तो उन्होंने मर ही जाना है, कोई और रख ले. तो तब लाए जाते हैं हमारे पास. तो हमारी कोशिश ये नहीं होती कि अब ये 6 महीने 8 महीने जिए. We thank God even if we can help them survive for the next 2 weeks or 2 months. And when they pass away, we try our best to give them the dignity that they deserve in death, as they should have deserved all their lives when they were around.
What have you learned? You're 24 years old.
26 now.
You're 26 years old. You've been doing this now for 5 years?
Yes.
What has been your starkest learning in the last 5 years? So including COVID then?
Just after COVID.
Just after COVID.
Anji. I think my starkest learning would be that service finds a way. That it's, I'm not a superstitious person. I never was, to be honest. I was always raised with the notion by my parents that I should ask and ask and ask for logic till I'm satisfied with the answer. But in service, I've seen things that words and logic cannot properly describe. There have been so many times when logically or strategically there hasn't been a way for this service to continue, and yet it's found a way. And there's certain days when I go to sleep at night and I have to think, how will I feed 1,500 people in the morning? I don't have the funds for it. That's a stressful sleep. But when I wake up, I receive a random phone call from someone that's heard about our organization, and they'll say, oh, it's my son's birthday today, let me send a truck of raw food. And it just continues. So I think when I thank service for teaching me is that if you have faith and you work hard to find a way, then good things will happen. Good things will continue to happen.
In the last 5 years, you've been running this this foundation. Have you ever been overwhelmed to a point where you felt, I should just walk away from this, it's too much? Because, you can do other things, you can be living your life anywhere in the world.
जी.
तो आपको कभी लगा कि आप घर जाते समय कि बस बहुत हो गया और मैं
नहीं, ऐसे नहीं लगता.
नहीं लगता?
नहीं. In fact, for me, see, there's a personal bias involved. It's my father's legacy. So that will always have the most weightage over any time that I feel upset or tired.
It's very interesting for me because at 26, you're living a very different life from people your age. जो बाकी लोग अभी इंस्टाग्राम पे अपनी फोटोज डाल रहे होंगे, ट्रैवल करते हैं, काम करते हैं, गाड़ी खरीद रहे हैं, they're buying stuff, they're living a very ambitious life, if that's the word to use. You're living the opposite life, where you spend your day among people who are in pain, people who are suffering, people who cannot communicate their pain and suffering. And so fundamentally, I would assume you're functioning from a place of empathy. What does it feel like when you look at other people your age? Do you feel disconnected? Do you feel they are disconnected? You are disconnected? Has society gone off in a completely different...
Well, that's a very good question. See, to be very, very honest, I don't intend to be the Diogenes of modern generation. You
Okay.
know, I'm not going to preach renouncing all materialistic ambitions.
Okay.
One should most definitely pursue those if that's what floats their boat. You know, it's okay for them to want to buy a car, to buy a house, to party or to go out, anything like that. That's all fine. You know, and I don't feel disconnected from them. I quite understand it, in fact. You know, it's the if the light that they want to see themselves in is not entirely because of their own ambitions, is it? It's also because of the ambitions that young people are told to have by, of course, there's direct and indirect factors that come into play to cause young people to think of these materialistic ambitions as the rightful ambitions. So I think we're dealing with a much larger problem here. That are we inspiring the generations correctly?
Mm.
For example, like you said that they take their inspiration from Instagram. पर उस पे तो वही दिखता है जो ट्रेंड हो रहा है. उस पे तो मतलब वो तो वैसे ही it functions on the theories of hypnosis. You know how you can grab maximum attention in the most minimal amount of time. So how are you going to understand the deep and more philosophical concepts of life that can help you navigate the problems much better if you're looking to just, get things on the go within a few seconds of an Instagram reel? ऐसे तो नहीं समझ आएगी ना दुनिया. तो हाँ, मुझे लगता है कि उनके लिए, अगर यूथ के लिए, मेरे लिए भी, अगर बाकी लोग अच्छे एग्जाम्पल सेट करेंगे तो हमें अपनी वैलिडेशन वहीं से मिलेगी. हम फिर वही करके दिखाएंगे. अगर गाड़ियाँ दिखाओगे बड़ी बड़ी और बोलोगे कि ये होनी चाहिए फिर ही तुम बड़े आदमी बनोगे तो हम उसके पीछे भागेंगे. तो अच्छी चीज़ें दिखाओ, हम भागेंगे, हम कर लेंगे अचीव.
So you believe there's a lack of role modeling in society right now?
हाँ, बस कोई मिस इंटरप्रेट ना करे मेरी इस बात को, लेकिन हाँ, मुझे लगता है कि जो लोग अच्छा काम करना चाहते हैं समाज में वो कहीं ना कहीं हमेशा पीछे हो जाते हैं. और जो दिखावा करते हैं वो आगे निकल जाते हैं.
Give an example.
एग्जाम्पल तो हर जगह ही है. But in today's time and age, don't you think that people want to seem as good people rather than be good people? मतलब अगर आप दिखा दो कि आप अच्छे इंसान हो तो जो चीज़ आपको अच्छा इंसान बनकर मिलने वाली थी वो तो वैसे ही मिल जाएगी. फ़ायदा क्या है अच्छा इंसान बनने का? It's people, for example, will always say quotes about kindness. That's what I often see.
Empathy.
Correct.
Yes.
And kindness के बारे में कहते हैं कि it doesn't cost anything to be kind. But in my opinion, that's because kindness isn't that important. Kindness is just what? Sweet words, polite gestures, and a few favors. It's a performance. It's what you show to absolve yourselves of the guilt.
Yeah.
Of being oblivious to the problems in society. I've never understood the whole philosophy of being a candle in a dark room. I would rather be the structural beam of that room, the one that actually keeps it in place when the ground starts shaking, whether it's light or dark inside the room. And I think that's reliability. That's more important to me. I think that, I've seen families do horrible things to one another before they end up at our center. There was a son whose mother was 70 years old. and she was mentally disabled. So he tied a dog collar to her neck and kept her inside the room for 4 months. And she was brought to us by the neighbors. It was heart-wrenching for me to see that. And when I was speaking to the neighbors, you know what they said? They said that it's so surprising that we found her in this situation. The son is so sweet and well-spoken. But he wasn't reliable, was he? When his own needed him, he wasn't there. So I don't care about whether people choose to speak straight or they choose to speak sweetly, or if they want to play chess with their words, or if they want to speak rudely. But the sense of duty should not waver, because when that happens, that clearly shows that kindness was just for decoration. So instead of being kind, I'd rather be someone that stands there when everything else gives up.
क्या आपका ये मानना है कि पॉलिटिक्स और रिलीजन की आर्ग्यूमेंट में we've forgotten what is really important and what our values really are?
I think, politics and religion, they coexist beautifully, like tea and biscuits. They go hand in hand. But what starts happening in today's time is that when personal agendas come into the picture,
Okay.
when man starts using politics and religion for his own purposes, then everything shifts, right? Then people or the masses are made to think in ways that those specific people want them to think. And most popularly, it's done by interchanging the role of religion and politics. So what happens is the sermon starts to sound like campaign speeches, and the campaign speeches start to echo these religious scriptures. And before we know it, we stop worshipping gods and we start worshipping politicians. We think that it's not God that governs over us. It's not politicians that govern over us. It's God.
Yeah. Actually, B.R. Ambedkar had actually said that if we mix politics and religion in this country, then our entire democracy will fail, because fundamentally the way I see it is religion is faith-based, right? So it expects you to believe in something for which there is no evidence. That is faith.
Right.
To have faith is to believe in something that does not, for which you cannot prove. Politics has to be the exact opposite. Right? You have to believe in someone who should be able to constantly provide you with evidence of good work. And you have to be able to apply logic. And you have to be able to make logical choices. So mixing the two things is actually asking for someone to, asking the people to vote for you based on faith, which is the opposite of what they should be doing. And I think that is where the entire system runs the risk of collapse.
I mean, you're right. Politics provides structure and religion provides spirit. Both those things are just as important as the other. But yes, these are both very, very powerful and influential concepts in our society. So they have to work together for the betterment of that same society. And if that's not the priority, then everything shifts. Then there's no guaranteeing what these powerful concepts, which direction they'll lead us in. So मुझे ये तो नहीं पता कि डेमोक्रेसी को क्या होगा अगर ये चीज़ें मिसयूज़ होंगी, लेकिन देखो कहीं ना कहीं politics, in my opinion, plays a bigger role than religion also, because politics can dictate what religion speaks in today's time and age. That is my opinion. Somewhere or the other, power is more visibly present over there, so people are more, likely to get influenced by it. Like you said, religion is faith in the unknown. But if someone is telling you and you can see them tell you that this is what you're supposed to do, then you're more likely to do it than someone you can't see telling you what to do. And with politics, it's not just about, for example, one of my favorite researchers and lecturers in the subject of power in politics was Michel Foucault. He spoke about the relationship between agency and institutions, which is basically citizens and authorities. And the genealogy of his work basically spoke about how it's not top down, that the manner of power's operations isn't always top down. It's a circulation, right? It's not just that we receive laws and policies from the authorities in power, but we also dictate the policies and laws that they will give us.
Yeah.
It's just that we have to know what to ask, and we have to ask for the right things. If tomorrow we ask for religious monuments instead of roads and they give it, can we actually complain about the lack of roads then? I mean, they delivered on their promises.
Yeah.
And big industrial capitalists have always understood this for decades. They always leverage their support and their vote for policies that benefit them, and they receive it. So we can talk later about how whether or not what politicians are giving us is what we want. I think first we need to figure out what we want.
वैसे we hear that the NGO sector has a lot of भ्रष्टाचार कि white को black में करते हैं, black को white में करते हैं. Have you ever received a request?
बहुत सारी.
कैसे? मतलब what is the nature of those requests without having?
जी. आज के टाइम में एनजीओस के बारे में एक बहुत बड़ा स्टीरियोटाइप है कि अगर आप किसी को भी एनजीओ वर्ड बोलो तो उनके माइंड में फ्रॉड आएगा. जैसे वकालत में बोलते हैं ना, कहते हैं इनोसेंट अंटिल प्रूवन गिल्टी. एनजीओस के लिए होता है गिल्टी अंटिल प्रूवन इनोसेंट. और मेरा मानना है कि ये बात ठीक है, जायज़ है कि 95% एनजीओ सच में अच्छा काम नहीं करते. उल्टा मैक्सिमम लोगों ने तो सिर्फ सुना होगा, मैंने तो बीचों बीच रह के देखा है. वो इतने बुरे काम करते हैं, लोगों का दिमाग ही नहीं जाएगा वहाँ तक. लेकिन फिर जो 5% अच्छा काम करना चाहते हैं उनके लिए बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है. जहाँ जाते हैं हम कुछ भी रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं, अगर हम मदद मांगते हैं तो लोगों को लगता है इनका कोई पर्सनल एजेंडा होएगा. तो ये जो पूरा सिस्टम है ये इसी तरीके से चलता है, और मैंने ये खुद भी फेस करा है. When my father passed away, 2 friends of his, I'm calling them friends because I know they're going to hear this, but they came to me and they offered me money to let go of the reins of the foundation. They told me that, you're young, you can do anything else, you have a family to take care of, why don't we give you money every month to keep your family in comfort? And this is a very boring kind of work, we'll do it, it's fine. And I told them that, this is my father's legacy, and I don't put my responsibility on other people. I'll try my best. And then they said that, how will you run it? You're so young, the place will shut down. I said, since you're my father's friends, if you support me, I might actually be able to pull through. If you don't support me, then you're right, how will I? And I said no. And then I did my due diligence and found out that even their plans was just to use the profile of the NGO to launder funds, and even to a certain, I couldn't gather proof about it, but I'll share it since I'm not disclosing their names. But they had intentions to even use the shelter to deal in organs. And saying yes to them would have been very dangerous. But even saying no to them was very dangerous. Slowly the tone started to change when they spoke to me. First it was a sweet proposal. Then it became more about if you don't cooperate, then, things won't go that well for you. Then that turned into, now things won't go well for you. And they even spread rumors and tried to sway people away from our cause to paint me as a person that is incredible enough to do this kind of work. So I think that the stereotypes around NGO to a certain extent is true, but we can't use that as an excuse to not act. I mean, if you're really that concerned, go and check. Ask them for the documents that you want till you're satisfied. But to just brush it off and say that, oh, it's probably just a gimmick, I think that's the biggest gimmick in play in today's time. Right?
Because a lot of people might meet you and say, oh, he seems really young. I don't think he's actually going to run this. He's probably just like the face of it. So, what is your response to that?
आके देख लो
Hmm.
बस मतलब मैं अपनी उम्र के बारे में तो कुछ नहीं कर सकता, वो तो धीरे धीरे ही बढ़ेगी. और हाँ, आज के टाइम पे मैंने ये ज़रूर सुना है कि जिनके बाल सफ़ेद होते हैं उनको इजीली ट्रस्ट करा जा सकता है. It's fine, I don't think age is against me in this. I think age gives you, a young age gives you a lot of grit, gives you a lot of energy to transform into positive outcomes. It keeps you up at night, keeps you restless. When you're looking to make a difference and you're not seeing the outcomes that you want to see, you keep at it.
Have you had moments of victory where you've gone home on that day, say, wow?
Many, many times.
Share.
There was this lady who was brought to our shelter homes by the police, and she was a rape victim. She was in a horrible condition. And it took her about 10 to 11 months for her to become okay. And when she started singing again. And I heard her, she asked me, which song do you like? And I showed her Jagjit Singh song that I really like. So she sang that, and I think that, I still think about it, it gives me goosebumps, but I cried so much when I heard her sing. And she sang so beautifully, and I didn't even have it in me, over the time of all those months to ask her what actually transpired all those months ago. I was just happy that she's found the will to live again. And that was a victory for me, and many, many more. In fact, I feel like I'd be insulting those victories if I, say them out loud. They're such pure instances that service shows not just me, but anyone that wants to see. And I promise you that once you've seen those pure instances, you won't even be able to talk about it. It'll just live quietly with you as a sentiment.
Tell me how the foundation was started by your dad. How old were you when your father started the foundation?
I think I was around 8 years old. My father, he was a businessman before he started the organization, and a quite successful one, I must add. I mean, I've seen how even business is difficult and has always been difficult, but he really came through and provided the comforts that any man would want to provide for his family. But one day he was going to drop my little sister off to school, and on the way he saw a really small puppy and a little girl eating from the same garbage yard. That's when he thought to himself that everything I've done for myself and for my family, it's of no use if I don't work for the people that really need my help. And then he dedicated his whole life to service. he, after dropping off my sister, he went to the crematorium and he picked up the ashes. मतलब मुझे तो उन्होंने खैर हिंदी में बताया था तो मैं वही बता देता हूँ. उन्होंने जलती चिता से राख उठाई थी और अपने मुंह पे मल ली थी और कहा था कि आज के बाद मैं सिर्फ सेवा करूँगा. और and he rented a small piece of land. He built very small huts over there with his own hands by himself. And then he used to go in the middle of the nights on the roads and he used to find all the people that were abandoned or were mentally disabled or were suffering from a disease. And he used to bring them into his shelter and serve them on a 24/7 basis. And slowly, with time, the number of people in the shelter home increased. They went from 10 to 20, 20 to 200, 200 to 400. And about 5 years ago, we had around 450 people living with us. And that's when my father unfortunately passed away. And now I have been trying to serve all those people and a few more. We've expanded our shelters to accommodate more and more needy people, and now we're taking care of 1,500 people across 2 shelters. In fact, one of the shelters out of the 2 is still under construction, and it already accommodates around 800 people out of the 1,500. And when that shelter will be fully constructed, it will be able to accommodate as many as 5,000 people. So it will become one of the largest free of cost shelter homes in the world. And how that will be done, I don't know.
When your father started the foundation, did things change very drastically at home? And what was that like for an 8-year-old to see that change in a parent?
See, both my parents, my mother and my father, they've always taught my sister and I the importance of seva. And, and not seva as I now do it, to be honest, but seva as empathy. My mother, in fact, taught me the difference between sympathy and empathy when I was very young. She told me that just sympathy is when you see a person starving on the side of the roads and you look at him and you feel sorry for him and you walk away. Empathy is when you go to that person, you sit down beside them, you put your hand on their shoulder, look them in the eye and accept that all that separates you both is luck. That was my understanding of empathy that I learned from my mom. And so irrespective of what journey, service has taken my father or me on, it's always been a shared belief of doing good that has made my family stronger than ever.
So a lot of people could think that charity or seva is reserved for the privileged, because it's only when you are provided for
Ji.
in terms of your comfort, your home, your sort of monthly expenses, that you have the time and energy to go out and do something like this. Because anyone who's watching might think, but hey, I have to go to work. I have to keep my house running. I have to look after my family. I don't have the ability. I don't have the time to do all of this because I don't have your privilege.
Ji.
What is your response to that?
Start slow, you start small. Just, using lack of privilege as a white flag and waving it to forego your responsibilities and duties towards societies, that's convenient. I'm not telling people to come to my center and serve over there or open their own. I mean, if they want to, please, most welcome by all means. But serve the people on the roads, serve the environment, plant trees, feed dogs on the roadsides, serve in a temple if you like, serve in a gurdwara, spread awareness about these causes, that's your expertise. Feed cows that are living near garbage yards.
Mm.
If nothing else, spread enough awareness so that people start serving their own parents. And then even I'll shut down my shelter home. I think whatever capacity you can serve in, you must.
Is it your privilege that allows you to do what you do? Is that something that you've had to ask and answer?
I've been asked, but the answer is easy because maybe I'm too close to it, but
Mm.
privilege doesn't really play a role.
Okay.
I've seen very, very privileged people run the other way
Mm.
when it's time to get their hands dirty in the mud. But I don't think it's about privilege at all. I think it's about humanity. And no matter how rich you are or how big your house is, still human. And if you're still human, it's time we learn how to be humane as well. I think that's the teaching that's at stake here.
When someone comes in to give a donation to your foundation, do they turn around and ask you, is this money going to be used for you? Are you taking it home as a salary? Or is there scrutiny that way?
मतलब सैलरी तो मैं तो कोई नहीं लेता संस्था से. इनफैक्ट बहुत बारी ऐसा भी होता है जहाँ my father used to dive into his own pockets to ensure that the service continues. I mean, I've seen him do that. Thankfully, there are many, many good people in today's time that have come forward and have asked outright, what do you need? Let me get it for you. Let me help you. Corporate companies that have been so kind and so open-hearted that they have not superficially, but on the ground, they have come to us, seen everything, understood the service, and guided us. They've told us that I think this is what you need. Can we give it to you? Can we bring it for you? Can we create it for you? Build it for you? And they do just that. I might have to sit with folded hands for the next year or so if I go on to thank all the people that have come together to ensure that our cause continues to help people.
Why is it you've been so media shy up till now?
Media shy.
My understanding is that you've never done
I
a major conversation. You've not really been interested in putting your story out there.
mean, I understand the importance of media and PR and social media. I do. I promise. I'm not anti-social media at all. I think media is very good for you to get your voice out there for your cause or your organization, to raise resources, even to build momentum. But it's too uncontrollable. You rather than the work, you start looking at the validation you're receiving from people. And media and PR, they function. I mean, I am not an expert, but it's my understanding that on the wants and desires and trends of the masses, right? And my work exists because the masses, or a large proportion of them, don't care. And if my work or anyone's work is to receive their validation, then we'll find ourselves in a loop. Rather than doing the work to make the headlines, we'll start figuring out the headlines first and then we'll do the work accordingly. We'll write the captions first and then we'll decide what we have to show as service in order to fit the caption. I just feel like diluting service so much just so that people can digest it. It's not right. It's absurd. I feel like, yes, we've missed a few podcasts a few panel discussions, a few spiritual or religious speeches. But what we've kept or managed to keep is control over our pace, over our intention, over our actions. And I think that's what's most important in this kind of work. To lead by example and not find examples so you can lead.
Just thank you so much for speaking with
thank
me
you.
today.
Thank
This
you.
was fantastic.
Oh, it
I
was
wish you very, very good luck.
lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you. It was honestly an honor, and I thank you and your team